Avatar is a franchise that's made over $5 billion. It's done that with effects the world has never seen and a bunch of stories that we have. Primarily the Kevin Costner movie Dances with Wolves. In that movie, Lieutenant John Dunbar is sent to a lone post and promptly forgotten, eventually forcing him to join the local Sioux tribe for survival. While suspicious at first, Dunbar proves himself as a warrior and goes from Dunbar to Dances with Wolves. Avatar sees soldier Jake Sully integrating into the Na'vi, who are suspicious of him at first, until Sully proves himself as a warrior and gets a place of great honor in the tribe. The Disney adaptation of the story of Pocahontas sees the titular character fall in love with colonist John Smith. Like Pocahontas, Neytiri was the chief's daughter and was set up with the tribe's fiercest warrior. But the tribe's fiercest warrior didn't think of dropping down on a bird from the top, so he's out and Sully's in. We're not done with Pocahontas yet. In general, the Avatar series is a heavy-handed allegory of colonialism, kind of like in Pocahontas 2, where Pocahontas and John Smith find themselves at odds with Smith's boss, Governor Radcliffe, who, like the military folks in Avatar, refer to the indigenous people as savages. Pocahontas is Ratcliffe and Avatar's Colonel Quaritch. Both are after the spoils of the land and are willing to go through the natives to get it. The uncomfortable issue with stories like these is not only does the outsider become part of the tribe, but they tend to native better than the natives. This seems oddly familiar to Paul Attratis of Dune having a knack for riding sandworms, signifying his importance to Arrakis and the Fremen.
First chance I get to get away from the office, that's what I'll do.
Avatar uses a lot of well-worn tropes to piece together its story, but there's one movie where Avatar practically just smushed the silly putty on and got a warped copy. See if any of this sounds familiar. Zack is tasked with harvesting a rainforest, but falls in love with a fairy named Krista. Krista is able to tap into a forest-wide network that connects all living things, and she shares that connection with Zack. Zack then has a change of loyalties and joins the fairies and defends the rainforest against loggers. The only real difference between Ferngully and Avatar is that Zack got small to live with the fairies and Sully got tall to live with the Na'vi. A lot of colonial people joining indigenous people stories were written during the heyday of colonization, written expressly for a colonial audience. This often results in stories that both romanticize the native cultures, but also establish the impression that the colonists could survive better than the natives could. Like in the 1970 film A Man Called Horse, where once again a settler is forced to live with the Sioux. This time, Englishman John Morgan, who starts off as a slave, earns warrior status by killing some enemies of the Sioux, gets a wife and a name by bringing back a horse, and ultimately ends up leading the tribe. Ultimately, Avatar is going to share a lot of elements from any settler goes native story. But there's one out-of-the-box version of the story that seems like it had characters lifted wholesale. Atlantis, the Lost Empire. Plato's cautionary tale about making your metaphor so interesting that people forget it was supposed to be a metaphor is the backdrop for this lesser Disney effort that has a barking Commander Rourke who knows he's destroying Atlantis by taking its resources and just doesn't care. Just like Avatar's Commander Quaritch. It has a tomboy character who befriends the protagonist and mechanic Audrey Ramirez. She parallels Michelle Rodriguez's pilot character. The pitch for Avatar was never the depth of story, but rather the giant leap forward in effects. Part of the look is the glowing bioluminescence of the flora and fauna of Pandora, reminiscent of another director whose movies are basically thousands of works of art passing through the projector at rapid speed, Hayao Miyazaki. Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke is the story of someone joining the forest gods and defending the forest from humans looking to strip it of its natural resources, and also features bioluminescence as part of its natural beauty.
Can you imagine?
The main recurring theme here is an outsider sent to deal with a native problem out of cynical self-interest. Sully lost his legs and most of his enthusiasm for basically anything. This sounds really similar to Captain Nathan Algren in The Last Samurai, a movie that I like for some reason, who is hired to train the Japanese to put down a samurai uprising, but instead joins them because, of course.